Hello, everyone. Another week of our series on People Come First, the book live. And this week we have our dear friend, Dorrit Karlsen, with us to talk a little bit about love and forgiveness, ladies and gentlemen. And as always, my lovely wife and co pilot, Linda Vetras Nichols, is on board, along with Jenny Langren and John Chapelier. And I'm excited to get this started. Love and forgiveness is a big deal right now because, there's a lot of violence in the world. There's a lot of anxiety and angst going around. And this is a delightful subject that we've taken from our book. And, I'd like to start it out, love and forgiveness. In our company, I developed a question and answer sequence over a decade now. That's kind of cool ago, where I invented a sentence at the end where people can kind of do a forgiveness kind of exercise. And it's person, whatever their name is, I love you and I forgive you so I can love me and forgive me. That's very powerful. Because we can say, yes, I forgive you for what you're doing. And maybe we do a little bit, but if we don't forgive ourselves, that anxiety, that pain stays in there. And that's something very, very poignant in today's society. Linda?
Yeah, well, when it comes to forgiveness, we don't always realize that the person that's going to benefit is us. And John Chapelier teaches on that very clearly. I love John's take on love and forgiveness as well. So what Terry's saying is the person that has been in that person's way and has been hard to forgive, they bring up their face and they just look at them right in the eyes and say their name and say, I love you and I forgive you so I can love me and forgive me. So that's kind of like our take on love and forgiveness. And welcome, Dorrit. Thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. And as you said, this topic is really, in right now. People are focusing on it. I hear it everywhere almost, People are very into the forgiveness and trying to find out a way to maneuver that, because as you said, there are a lot of turmoil in the world, and we can't live with that inside us. It will eat us away like a cancer.
Yeah, and COVID really brought a lot of that out. There was plenty to forgive when it came to all of a sudden people not going to the office and being thrown in with their families when they weren't used to it, and it boiled up a lot of issues that could have been worked on earlier and just weren't from even busyness. And so, yeah, interesting. John, would you like to share your take on love and forgiveness?
Sure, certainly. I was going to say no, but I thought that might elicit the wrong responses. So, yes, I would very much like to do that. Love and forgiveness for me is two sides of the same coin. You can't be loving without being forgiving, really, and you can't be forgiving without being loving. Forgiveness is a loving act. To me, there's really only two emotions. I really think that there's fear and there's love. And all the good emotional behaviors and actions and thoughts come from the love side, and all the negative behaviors and actions come from the negative side. If you dig a little deeper into a fearful person, you'll probably find an angry person who doesn't know how exactly to express that. So that's just my opinion. But forgiveness is one of those things that we have to realize is not I'm sorry. I think of the issue of really more of an amend than an apology. An amend is I am sorry for that behavior, and I've changed the way in which I relate to people, talk to people, whatever it might be. And I've worked very hard to not find myself in that position again. I hope you can forgive me. Because if you tell people you're sorry long enough, they're going to start to agree with you. Yeah, you're sorry. So you have to be very careful about the level of sincerity. This is like saying, I guarantee it, or this will never fail, or any of these other things that people are so used to hearing. And they know that it goes like a New Year's resolution. It's gone in a couple of weeks and you're back to the old behavior. And that's why it really needs to be an amend that you've committed to, because you're the person that needs to start working on not digging yourself into a hole again. Because that's where we are emotionally. We're sort of down in a hole and we're trying to figure out how to get out. And something as bizarre as simply saying, I don't want to behave that way anymore. And I'm sorry that I did. I've been doing this, and it's changed the way in which I react to things. That's a lot of what the Daily Six is about. It's a daily active process to sort of balance yourself so you're not on this emotional roller coaster all day long and end up with emotional whiplash. It's just, it's a calming kind of thing. And love, the way I use it in the book, the love is simply understanding the needs of others and treating those needs as important as if they were my own. Okay, not more important and certainly not less important, but as important. Your needs are every bit as important as mine. And my job in life is to find out what those might be and see if I can be of any help in helping you find ways to get there. Scott Peck talked about that being sort of the purpose in life is to help someone else grow spiritually. So that's my take on love and forgiveness.
Very cool. And when you're talking about like the amend of behavior, I remember my brother he just went through this sorry phase. And my mom, said, if you're sorry, you wouldn't keep telling me you're sorry. You would change what you're sorry for, so. And that I remember using that at the psychiatric day treatment center too. Like, sorry means you're changing your behavior, or at least attempting to. And I'm not seeing that. So I'm having a hard time believing you're sorry. So instead of telling me you're sorry, how about, blah, 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 and gave him some suggestions for shifting out of that particular behavior. So Jenny or Dora, do you want to hop in?
I can go right ahead. I remember a time when I felt as if forgiving someone was not loving towards myself. Because I used to feel like, well, if I forgive that person, it's almost like I'm saying that that behavior was okay. And today I recognize that it is actually a loving act to allow people to play the leading role in their lives and hold them responsible so that I can be present with myself. Just like you said, I get to forgive them so that I can forgive myself. So today for me, forgiveness means that I give back. I recognize and I give back to a person what belongs to them, so that I no longer need to carry that experience of shame or anger or resentment. I give it back to the person who brought that to me in an expression of love. That is respect, and I get to be respectful with the choices that I am making now for myself and my well-being. And that's been a huge shift for me. That forgiveness is actually giving back and then being present with myself and caring for myself and being responsible for my side of the fence.
Can I just jump in? I'm really resonating with that, Jenny. And I also want to add that for me, it is important to eliminate the feeling that the person that I'm forgiving, that they have some kind of a power over me when I'm holding that resentment, that anger. They have a power over me. They have won in a way. So they are giving me this negative energy that I'm carrying around. But by treating it with love and forgiveness, it's very it's like a release. I can let it go. I don't have to carry that suitcase full of garbage along everywhere. And it's such a wonderful feeling. But in the beginning, I was thinking just like you, Jenny, that it was not loving myself if I did that I was kind of compromising my own worth by saying that was, I forgive you, because that was like saying what you did was okay. So yeah, most definitely. And I also found that just seeing what a person has done wrong to you, just feeling it and acknowledging that it's there, is also very powerful. It is it's compassion for myself and my feelings to see what is there and to kind of notice it, accepting it, and then I can forgive and sprinkle love all over it.
Awesome. And let's switch into love, because Dorrit, your teachings on love are so cool when it comes to marriage, especially when it comes to marriage. And Dorrit's favorite line, it's the little things. And I love how you say that with your Norwegian accent. Say that, it's the little things.
It's the little things, you know?
I love that. So, and the little notes, and you do that teaching for us, would you? I just love it so much.
Yeah, it's not the flowers every Friday or the date night. Of course, those are nice things too. But in a marriage, especially when the years are piling on, we seem to take each other for granted and just coexist, and the magic disappears. So I think that it's important to have those little things. Like now, it's all about the cell phones and computers. So before, we used to do the little notes, just leave a little written note with a heart and a kiss or whatever, like have a nice day, or I love you, or can't wait to see you later, or things like that. But now it's just a little message to show your significant other that you're thinking about it, to kind of hold that connection to yeah. So it doesn't have to be much. It's just like, oh, was thinking about you, hope you're having a great day. We're having your favorite for dinner, or just tiny little things like that.
I absolutely love that. And then the other one is like, you might come home and your husband might have done the dishes and put them away, but he might not have done them the way you would have done them, or put them where they belonged, or whatever in your mind's eye. And again, it's those little things though. So I love how you say what he did do well. So you do want to explain that a little bit?
Yeah. When he does that, and he do it more and more, because I'm like with the dogs, reinforcing the good behavior. Sounds so tacky. Yeah. So when he has done something that I'm really so happy about, I'm telling him that, even though, like you mentioned, Linda, things might not be as I would have done it, but he did it. So I'm like, you just helped me so much. Oh, I was dreading coming home to that kitchen. Or he knows that I'm not a fan of getting up in the morning and coming down to a messy kitchen. So sometimes he does the kitchen before he goes to work in the morning. If I'm doing a lot of stuff in the evenings, like being on meetings or going to dog courses or whatever, he will do that in the morning. And then when I get up and come down to the kitchen and I see it's spotless, and I'm like, oh, that's the little things that means a lot for me. And I'm telling him that. And when he gets to hear that I appreciate it, he wants to do more things. So lately he has started attacking our floors with the Hoover very often. He is always like taking in firewood and making a fire before he goes to work in the morning. So it's like good when I can get up and don't have to get up in the morning to a cold living room, and just things like that. And I'm sending him messages because he's at work, so I can't just call him and disturb his day all the time. But I can send him little messages and let him know how I appreciate that.
That is sweet. That is sweet. John, you start to say something?
Yeah, I was just the idea of it's important to remember that love is an action, not just an emotion. Actually, all emotions are actions. They can be good or bad. But if you tell somebody, this is like telling them they're sorry, but you don't change your behavior. That means I don't mean it. If you say to somebody, I love you, but everything sort of stays lethargic and nobody does much, then you're not showing me that you mean that in any way, shape, or form. So for me, it's important. I mean, Susan and I have been married 700 years, and our 700th year anniversary is coming. Our 701st anniversary is coming up soon. So I don't know, but I don't even know how. It's 35 years, something like that, 36 years. So, it's a little hard to remember how important this person is in your life until you get into the habit of saying, I am grateful to have you in my life. Another line that I use sometimes that shocks her completely, which is, how could I be a better husband? Because there are a lot of people that don't want flowers on Fridays. They don't even like flowers. All they do is drop stuff all over the table, and I really don't want them. And he brings them home every Friday, and he never asks me if I want them or not. So, it's just like, why don't we do what the other person really wants? I'd really like to do this or do that, but I'm never going to know that, because the one thing that I have said across the board over and over again, and I don't think I've said this to Linda, clairvoyance is not part of any relationship. Okay. It's just not. I can't read your mind. I have to ask you, and you have to tell me. I've practiced that so many times. How many of us, we're all focused on communication. How many times are you watching a TV show going, if you just tell them, you wouldn't have all these problems? And that's a TV show. So, if you're paying attention to communication, it can drive you crazy in almost any situation that you're in. But if I'm not finding out what love means to someone else and doing those things, then I'm not exerting the process of love from their perspective. And that's what's so important. Not my perspective, but their perspective. And I'll shut up with one more thing. And one of the things Dorrit said earlier was, you can just cut me off if you want to, Terry. You got the control there. Dorrit said this idea of, feeling, and Jenny did too, this idea of it's wrong to let go and forgive somebody. And again, I've always said forgiveness is for the forgiver, not for the forgivee. They might not even accept your apology or your amend or whatever it might be. It's not that. It's so that you do not continue to carry resentment. Resentment in English means to feel over again. Okay. You're having another sense of it, and you continue to bring it up until it's gone. And it's our job to pull out that thorn and let it go. I've even worked with people who have had somebody my father was whatever he was, and now he's passed, and I can't work on that. And I've had them write out exactly what they want to say, and we take it out in the backyard and just light it on fire and let the smoke sort of filter up. And you would be amazed how simple little things like that completely cleanse our souls to the point where our behavior can change almost immediately. It is really astounding. Thank you.
Thank you.
Exactly. And to reflect what Dorrit said, and what her husband does. And in a couple of men's groups that I've been in over the years, We used to have this adage that you can be a manly man without being a manly girl. And that means you do things without respect to male, female, man, child, Catholic, Hindu, whatever. You bring it from the heart, and it creates something from the soul that is genuine and is felt by the receiver. Even if they don't really get, okay, the dishes are in the wrong place, but they're done. Okay. And it's important to be present with that. You know, a lot of times we're around somebody. Linda and I do this on occasion too, and that is we're around each other, but we're not present with each other. We're in each other's presence. And presence with each other is the power there, because we're then connected on a wavelength via the mouth, because we're not clairvoyant either, John. And that's important, to just stop for a moment and say, "Hey, sweetie, how you feeling?" and mean it. You know, that's powerful. Jen, you look like you were going to say something just a minute ago. I'm not sure.
Yes, I'm happy to share more. As you are sharing stories of marriage and couples, I'd like to bring to the table that having gone through divorce and having made the decision to divorce, I believe in my core it was a loving act towards both of us. Because staying in a situation where you're not able to be your authentic self, and you recognize that the situation is not serving me or the other person, to remain there and not allow for the change to occur is not love for anyone. So I'd like to share that letting go is a loving act. And when Dorrit was sharing, and also you, Terry, I was also thinking of presence. And Dorrit, you were bringing up connection. And connection is not just an exchange of information, but an exchange of humanity. And that means that I hear you and I see you. And I also believe, Terry, that even though we're not speaking the same language, when we are being sincere in our presence and curious and open, and there's love, we are still able to connect at a very deep level.
Yeah, that's a good one, Jenny. When I think about my divorce and, just doing what I could to make the marriage work and come into this place of it takes two people. And, I was getting advice from others of, well, he can do it, he just can't keep it going. And it's like, yeah. And so I was getting hurt, and not physically, but it wasn't working for me emotionally at all. And there's a song on YouTube. I play it almost every time I play music. I play that one first when I listen to music on YouTube. And it's a song about, a couple that's broken up and kind of getting back together, and they're like saying, "I'm sorry I didn't feed the dog, and I'm sorry this, and I'm sorry that." And it's just like, oh, if it was only that, that would have been great. And so it's kind of my imaginary song of what I was choosing to have happen in my marriage. So I found that really interesting. Like, why do I love this song so much? So yeah, love and forgiveness. And of course, it's like forgive, just not forget, right? So it's keeping to your boundaries and protecting yourself as you see fit. And yeah, you do also want to remember. So that's a whole other subject and topic, isn't it? So, Dorrit, any last words here? Like, our guest, wonderful guest, Dorrit Karlsen. Love and forgiveness. What comes up for you?
Yeah, in my early years, when I was in my 20s, I had a relationship where I had to forgive, or I chose to forgive quite a lot of things. It was not a good relationship, but it lasted 3 years and it produced a beautiful little son. So I'm not regretting it. I learned a lot, but it was very hard at the time. I forgave him going on a job excursion while I was giving birth, even though Marius was 10 days late being born. He chose to go to Denmark and have like an outing and party with his work friends instead of being there with me. He came back when Marius was 2 days old. So I had my sister with me, so I wasn't alone, but you know, yeah. And on the same trip, he decided to be unfaithful. So he cheated on me, and he cheated again after, 6 months, around about there. And I forgave him because I really wanted this to work. I wanted to have this relationship where my son could grow up with both a mommy and a daddy. But at the time, I was not good at forgiving myself. So I carried that resentment, as John said, and that was starting to build up and eating away at me. And I thought that I didn't deserve anymore. You know, I deserved being treated that way, up until the day where he started to call me a whore. And I just lost it. And I got so angry. It was like putting a needle to a balloon. It just poof. And I was so angry. Everything came out. So I threw him out, and it was over. I was done. But it took me quite some time to have that love and forgiveness for myself. For me, it helped with the Ho'oponopono. Yeah. So when I discovered that, and I worked with that, looking myself in the eyes in the mirror and just working on that, it kind of released a lot of stored resentment that I had, and I was able to cry and let that out. And that was such a wonderful feeling. And I felt the love for myself after that. You know, I felt that I've done something that is truly important, to show myself that compassion, to take this step, to clear that out. And that was really really big for me. Yeah.
It's my favorite story, Dorrit, because you really did, like, even physically step into your power, and you just went boom. You just punched him, and it's like,
I wasn't gonna say that. Yeah, but I was holding Marius on my hip. He wasn't even a year, and I just punched him right in the jaw. His jaw got dislocated, and I threw him out, locked the door, and yeah.
And he was in shock. It was the first time he probably had just drawn the line and shown the boundary, and he didn't know what to do. So it's my favorite story. All right, so let's wrap this up. Care Bear, you got something?
What a great conversation. Thank you so much, Dorrit, for being part of this. And Jenny and John, love you to death. You know, we've got a great book, and this series has just been a delight and continues to be enlightening each time we talk on these various subjects. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave your comments. We'd love to respond to them. And for those of you who are picking this up later on the recording, thanks for doing so. We hope that you get to bring some of what we talked about today with you on your journey. So thank you very much. And thank you everyone for joining us. And we'll see you again in a couple of weeks.